Okay, welcome to today's webcast, Windows Devices and EMS for Enterprise Mobility Suite. We're excited to have two presenters, so it's kind of a two-part session today. The first part, we will be covering Windows Devices purely with Chris Letitia. I think I probably messed up your name a little bit, but he joins us from the U.S. M&O Windows team out at corporate. We're excited to have him. He's a senior project manager and Windows specialist, and he supports our learning, our LSPs, or formerly known as LARs, with a lot of our pre-sales, licensing, and readiness for Windows 8.1. So Chris is definitely the guy to really get us up to speed on a lot of the Windows and how to think about that from a sales perspective. And then the second half, we'll be covering the EMS, Enterprise Mobility Suite, with Jonathan Gardner. And Jonathan's on the National Partner Technology team within the partner group. He focuses on, different technologies, which also includes EMS and Azure. And he comes with us with 14 years of IT consulting experience. Also, it holds many certifications, MCSE, MCITP, as well as a PMP. And he does a lot of different presentations across the U.S. And is a published author as well for compliance and auditing of SQL Server. So we're happy to have him here today, and he'll be covering the second part of EMS. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off, and we'll go ahead and begin with Chris. So Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Rick. Can you hear me okay?
Excellent. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to learn and talk Windows and devices as well as EMS with us today. Again, my name is Chris Letexier. I'm a senior project manager here on the Windows team. And I'm excited to talk to you today about Windows and devices. Coming from a sales perspective is something that I really enjoy talking about with the partners that I support every day. So hopefully I can portray some of that and give you guys some great insights as to why Windows and why Windows devices and how that kind of relates to EMS when Jonathan comes up. So with that, we talk about today and the world we live in is a mobile first and cloud first world. We look at computing being ubiquitous, and experiences, span devices and exhibit, a lot of ambient intelligence. At our core, Microsoft, is a productivity and platform company for the mobile first and cloud first world. So we look at that in many different ways here. As I mentioned, this is now a mobile first, cloud first world we live in. Everybody and everything is becoming more connected every day. This has really changed how we live our personal lives and is really changing the very nature of how we work. If you think about how you get your day-to-day stuff done, it's not always, on site, in front of a desk. It is on the go using a plethora of devices. And so this has really been a challenge for businesses and IT leaders to really develop and implement an enterprise-wide mobile strategy, together that embraces, the opportunity to both, employees and customers, while maintaining these enterprise-grade solutions or security and availability. So we look at, the mobile first world. We have more than 3 billion people with internet connected devices that are all powered by cloud service-based apps, that's spanning both work and personal life. It's those phones you carry, it's the tablets, it's the big screens that you interact with, it's the sensors in a room when you enter, it's what's going on everywhere. And all of these things have applications. So with this exponential growth across connected users, connected devices, and applications, that's what's leading, the growth of this cloud. And, and the cloud is just not I don't want to go down that road, but when we think about the cloud, we think of connecting everybody and everything together. And some of these insights that we have on the screen here are pretty great. To me, and I look at a third of on-premises, but frequently collaborated people are away from their desks, and 70% of these employees are really unhappy about their mobility options. We look at BYOD programs failing, with 20% of the time. So, we've got a unique opportunity with our customers and with Microsoft in living in this cloud first, mobile first world. So when we look at the strategy with Microsoft, it's simple. With Windows, we are creating the devices and experiences that we believe users will love. But with Microsoft, we have that history in the enterprise space that we understand the business needs or the needs of businesses. So we are coupling that, the devices that people love, with the enterprise-grade solutions that businesses need. So this is where you're seeing a lot of these numbers here. We're seeing a lot of great momentum with this strategy. As you can see in these numbers here, with over 200 million Windows 8 licenses sold to date, 40% of those Windows 8 devices are touch enabled in the U.S. And we look at that coupled with the enterprise-grade solutions, that you see here, as to our way we're going to be, attacking or supporting our customers, if you would. But why should businesses even care about enterprise mobility, and why should they invest in enterprise mobility solutions? Well, we know that the do-nothing approach at this point isn't an option. Mobility, has taken over the enterprise. Again, with employees demanding to work anytime, anywhere, from their mobile devices, and a lot of that is using technology that's happening outside of IT. And so we look at how is Microsoft handling this, or what's their approach? And embracing this is a priority for Microsoft. Again, only Microsoft can provide the devices and experiences that end users love with that enterprise-grade solutions. So we look at the bottom here, these 5 pillars, if you would, for enterprise mobility. And I don't want to take away anything, from Jonathan coming up, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about the far left under business-ready devices. But just know that when we talk enterprise mobility, and with Windows 8, it expands from business-ready devices, being able to empower your workforce and engage customers with the next generation of tablets. The Microsoft Surface tablet is obviously one that we are very proud of with the Surface Pro 3, and I do have a little bit of that coming up. But the other, we also talk about mobile productivity, being able to allow end users to be productive anywhere on any device. We also look at, the line of business apps and being able to deliver the next generation of mobile apps that, seamlessly span, on-premise and in the cloud, utilizing today's best devices. We look at the sales productivity, being able to enable, sellers to, work with, the latest technology, being able to close deals faster, being able to provide better sales productivity. This is, one of the awesome areas that I think Microsoft has a lot of, line of business demos, verticals, if you would, and I've got more of that coming up here in a little bit. And then finally, the enterprise mobility management. This is, meeting users' expectations for that multi-device productivity, but while still maintaining corporate standards for security and privacy. So these are the 5 pillars that we talk about when we look at enterprise mobility. So let's talk a little bit more about why Windows devices. So when we talk Windows devices, we look at some of the reasons why Windows is the right choice for businesses. We look at the best business tablets. Windows tablets are convenient. They enable productivity. They deliver a touch-optimized experience along with full support for mouse and keyboards. So that as everybody knows, there's not a one solution for everybody. So mouse, keyboard is great. But there's a lot of people out there that love touch, and Windows devices are thinner, lighter, faster. They make them ideal for any business solution out there. We look at the apps for businesses. Windows apps are powerful. They're connected. They're immersive. Many organizations are already taking advantage of the Windows platform to build both internal line of business apps and for new ways to reach customers. We also then talk about, and I'm not going to go into each one of these today, we don't have enough time, but when we look at IT ready, and this is what Jonathan's going to be hitting on a lot of, is that providing that enterprise grade security and manageability. It's from the client device to the network to the back-end infrastructure. Windows offers features that really improve the security and reliability of your customers' organizations. And from the power on to power off, Windows provides more of a secure foundation to help businesses running, or to help businesses run. Excuse me. So let's talk about a better Windows and where we've come from Windows 7 to Windows 8. Just purely from a hardware standpoint, we look at the faster boot times, 36% faster boot times Windows 8 has than Windows 7, a longer battery life, the less memory usage, and 100 more thinner, lighter, faster, cheaper devices out there than Windows 7. But in addition to the physical hardware performance increases that you see here, what's the value of Windows 8 over Windows 7? Well, this really falls into three key areas, and I probably should have used this slide and this content on here, but it falls under the best user experience. We look at that rich, end-to-end productivity solution, reducing time spent searching for things, improving the communications and collaboration, improving business agility, all under that best user experience as one key area. The second, performance, we just kind of hit on that with this slide here. And the third is around security, where it's about protecting that data across devices and the cloud. It's reducing the risk of sensitive information being disclosed. It's utilizing Office 365 and other Microsoft solutions to reduce IT costs and the commitment to manage a multi-device environment. So those are some Windows 8 improvements over Windows 7, but what does that also look like with this Windows 8.1 update? So these really hit in 5 key areas when we talk about the OS in itself. Being able to right-click on the Start Now to bring up admin commands, being able to search for apps and pin them to the taskbar, all from the search, the charge bar and the search that you have there. Being able to pin apps to the taskbar. Being able to make, be able to go into the programs and choose which way Windows defaults using different versions of an app, and most importantly, booting to that desktop. I think I'm sure you guys have heard it more than or just as much as we have. I want to be able to boot to the desktop, as to me was one of the things that I heard a lot about, and from 8 to 8.1, and now it's there, and it's how I use my computer every day. So those are some of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and type improvements that we look at in Windows 7 versus Windows 8. But how are we selling, and what are some of those sales opportunities and scenarios out there? Well, it first starts with that, I want, I need type thing. This is with the rapid, movement of, information and tools that you need to get, from anywhere and anytime. We hear, customers talk about that, conflicts that they have in deciding between tablets, laptops. They want a tablet because it's lightweight, it's easy to consume information, it's a cool factor, but I need a PC because it's, powerful and productive. I need my desktop type experience. And we look at, some of the growth that tablets, are reaching into our marketplace, and, not to really, hone in on this, but there's a lot of opportunity for tablets out there, but there are, still a need for PCs and out there. So some good, digestible bits of factoids there for you guys, just around tablets and sales, so you can have that. But what are the key differentiators, in Windows over the competition? And this is, fun to talk about because everybody's got iPads, they've got Android devices, and to me, those are great for consumption. But, only Windows tablets, support full desktop apps like Microsoft Office. They give you USB ports, with them, and being able to, just do and support everything that users do. From the choice and factor of devices to that consistent, familiar experience across devices, to that predictability of, you've got a Windows device, I know how to get that into my infrastructure. And then with those enterprise-grade security and management features, I know that I can manage, secure, and support my Windows devices, and only Windows is going to be able to provide that consistent, personalized experience across these full range of devices that you see here, and giving the businesses and consumers the ability to choose the right combination to fit their needs. Whether it's the cloud, again, not to steal away what's coming up, or whether it's on-prem. Windows 8 is the key devices there that only Microsoft can offer in this solution. So who is buying tablets? Who's going to replace their Windows 8 or their PCs with the Windows 8 tablets? And a couple scenarios here across the top. When we look at System Center and Windows Entune, being able to manage a desktop and server environment within Config Manager. These are customers that could replace a PC with a tablet. You also look at the enterprise customers that have invested a lot in communications and collaborations, being able to replace their PCs with a tablet. And we look at the developers out there. We look at the Windows phones also, as enterprise customers that are looking to replace their devices with a Windows tablet. But what presentation wouldn't be good to not bring up the Surface Pro 3? We're all very excited about it. It really, truly takes a big step forward in the way we think about the Surface Pro family. Where the Surface Pro and Pro 2 was an evolution, the Surface Pro 3 is a completely new product. It's thinner, it's lighter, and has a great Intel Core processor choices, and it that thinner, lighter, more powerful makes it a very attractive device out there, and one that is definitely making its impression in the marketplace. Not to spend too much time on that, but let's make it real. Let's look at some scenarios that we have out there. I know it's always in sales good to compare what other customers are doing to what customers you're talking to now, so we can look forward. So 5 different examples here, all enterprises that are reimagining their businesses with devices and mobility. And I don't want to get into each one of these, but it is, noted here that, from BYOD to improving customer retention to increasing worker productivity, there are case studies across multiple different industries and multiple different, not only U.S., but, abroad as well. So when we look at, and I wanted to really just break it down and to show you it on this slide. We look at customers with Windows 8 devices now. So here are some key industries that we have on the screen, and customers that are already taking advantage of the Windows 8 devices out there. So you can see there's a lot of great momentum around Windows 8, and it's going to continue when we look to Windows 10. And I know I'm running up against time here, so I did want to just wrap up with some business value around the Windows Software Assurance and Windows Enterprise. This is something that we talk about every day. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with software assurance and the SA benefits that we have out there. But really the best business value that we see, is when customers add software assurance to the Windows Enterprise license. That gives them then the ability to then also purchase the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack, which helps them better virtualize, manage, and restore their Windows devices. And also provides, software assurance provides that flexibility to use Windows no matter where you're at. So I looked at a lot of the courses that customers are taking to get certified, and a lot of the MDOT technologies, the user experience, virtualization, AppV, are courses that are products that are within the courses that when customers go to take their MCSE and certifications like that. So this is good to know, at least what we're talking about when we sell software assurance with our customers. So to summarize, this is an interesting build. It didn't quite come out the way I had it, but it's all right. So there's a lot at the top. It's the IT challenges that missed it. But we look at customers, employees, partners. When we start from the bottom and work up, we have our devices. We look at our total cost of ownership. And I apologize, guys, that some of these logos didn't come through. But we look at Windows Server, SQL Server being able to help with that infrastructure and reducing TCO. Again, security management and deployment. We look at System Center, the Enterprise Mobility Suite, which is going to come up, and Microsoft Intune. Windows Intune was just renamed. And just to put it in perspective here, so how Microsoft's going to help. We empower teams, to make real-time, decisions. We want to be able to give them access to their business tools and information anywhere with any of their connected devices. We're helping, transform customers' business to embrace the mobile first, cloud first world that IT and businesses need to look at that strategy to be able to support themselves. And then finally, we look to be able to delight our customers, if you would, with being able to provide them with the apps, the devices, the abilities, if you would, to have everything connected and be more productive. When we look at that, it's providing the business-ready devices, being able to be productive anywhere, use those line of business apps, improve those sales productivity, and manage that diverse devices that everybody has in their environment. So with that, I kind of went through that really fast. I'm happy to take a few questions if we had it. I didn't have the Q&A pane up, but it doesn't look like there's any questions, so I think I'm going to pass it over to Jonathan now. Jonathan, are you there?
Yeah, sure am. Thanks for going through that with us and passing it over and giving me the opportunity. As Rick and Chris mentioned, my name is Jonathan Gardner. I work with the national partner team, and what we're going to kind of cover today is really a view on the EMS suite. And let me see if I can get this slide to advance. So, as Chris mentioned, we're really having a fundamental shift in the way that computing works, and you guys already know that the cloud has really played a fundamental shift in the way that organizations operate. When you look at the numbers, there's numbers coming out like crazy that really kind of support that statement. But I'm somewhat new to Microsoft, and I actually came from a partner and have been doing partner-related activities for the last 14 years, specifically with an SI, and having conversations in the field with organizations, even up until a couple of months ago before I came onto the Microsoft team. Those were the conversations that they wanted to have. The challenge is how do we embrace the cloud? How do we manage this? How do we deal with these pieces of shadow IT that have kind of formed in the kind of outbreak of this mobile-first devices driven world, and really it's been driven by consumption and where people consume their devices. So this model kind of shows the way that we consume data. Users access data through a host of different devices, but they're consuming all those on applications, right? So whether we've all seen the commercials, there's an app for that, or there's an app for this, or we can use the tools that we have at hand to deliver the information we need. And really that's what this slide represents, is the workforce has become more mobile, it has become more dispersed, but we have to be able to continually access our data, and the different generations that come up want different ways to do that too. So as we talk to customers, there's certainly a generational gap with employees that some people want to consume things in different ways. They want to consume them on tablets, they want to consume them on devices, and then they want to also be able to consume them on a traditional machine. Well, all of those apps that get connected to the data, the challenge is how do we manage that? How as an organization do we manage that? And in ways from our customers, one of the things that they're facing is this outbreak of a whole new concept of shadow IT. And that concept really came about because the user base that they supported didn't want to have to wait. They wanted to be able to consume the data in their apps from their devices, and they didn't want to wait for traditional IT mechanisms to keep up. So one of the things that we've turned around and done is really created a tool set that allows organizations to provide some of those services in a more flexible, scalable way. So what is EMS? What is this Enterprise Mobility Suite, and what does it do? It's really made up of three main parts, and we hinted at a lot of them earlier. Azure Active Directory Premium, Windows Entune, and Microsoft Azure Rights Management Services. And we're going to dig into each one of these. But the principle is the identity is used to connect that person to the resources that they want to access. The Entune portion is the ability to manage and control and provision devices to those users, and then the rights management is the ability to protect the data in the organization. Because one of the challenges that you face is you start working with organizations who want to embrace this mobile first world that we live in. The question becomes, how do we protect our data? We've all seen in the news the significant breaches that have happened because somebody left a laptop or they left a flash drive, and it was not secure. They were not able to access their information, and they had weak password policies, and all of those things are certainly preventable. And this combines some services that we as Microsoft offer into a single platform, providing it with a under kind of one offering to centralize those up and really create a solution to address some of these issues. So let's dig into a little bit of these and what we mean by some of them individually. So from a hybrid identity standpoint, one of the things that was always faced and challenging when you talk to organizations is, okay, tell me what you're doing in the cloud. And a lot of times organizations would say, oh, we're not in the cloud at all. And then I'd ask them questions like, well, what are you using for a CRM system? Oh, well, we're using Salesforce. And then I'd ask them what were they using for payroll, and they'd say, oh, well, we're using ADP. And really what has happened is we've got what's on the screen here is this devices and services model. We see it in reality in our organizations. People are using different devices to access different services across the portfolio of what they're using to get work done on a daily basis. So how do you deal with that? Today a lot of people have multiple passwords to log into multiple locations. The Azure Active Directory Premium offering builds on top of the Azure Active Directory offering that comes in a lot of people are using for Office 365, and it provides support for a whole host of additional features and functionality, including the ability to do group-based management and the ability to empower users, you can see on the right-hand side here, for self-service password reset. When I would talk with organizations and ask them what the number one challenge is on the help desk, this is the number one thing that happens. Somebody forgot their password. And it's not just their password to log into their computer, but their password for Salesforce.com or any of the other services that are being offered through the organization. Azure Active Directory Premium allows the organization to extend single sign-on functionality to third-party applications. And last time I checked, it expands so rapidly, the numbers, I don't have an accurate number, but the last time I checked, we were over 3,000 cloud-based applications that we can support and connect to. So what does that mean? It means that you can use your authentication mechanism that you log in with your computer all the way out to log into things like Salesforce or Twitter or Facebook or ADP or a whole host of different services that the organization links to. And then a user can manage their password and reset their password all from a branded portal inside the organization, freeing those IT guys up to really focus on other challenges that they may have in the organization. So Azure Active Directory Premium is the first pillar that we talked about. The next piece is the mobile device management. We spent a lot of time talking about those mobile devices. Well, the traditional model has always been, oh, it's going to be issued by the organization, and the organization is going to manage that device. Well, things have got a lot more complicated because the user is bringing their own device, and it may be a iOS device, it may be an Android device, there may be multiple. The user is going to have multiple devices. It's not a one-to-one world anymore. It's usually a many to one, and it's all kinds of different functions. So the extension, the Windows Entune platform, provides that secure capability for managing those devices. It allows for provisioning of those devices, selective wipe, control for security. It allows the organization to really play the larger role in helping manage and deploy that device. So while it's a cloud-based platform, it actually can be an extension of organizations who've already invested in the System Center platform. So the connection with the System Center platform will allow the organization to manage devices that they issue through the System Center platform and Intune devices, both with things that they issue and things that the organization brings. Now, what does Intune do? It allows some of the functionality from the System Center suite gets rolled over. So inventory, update management, software deployment, email selective wipe, and control of devices for selective encryption. So a very expansive tool set, which is actually rapidly expanding. I think they're due for another announcement and release coming up soon as well. So continually evolving the platform to provide more flexibility in the way that organizations want to manage their devices. So the first part we have is identity management, helping the organization control the identity and connect out into the cloud for those applications so that they can sign on to them and have a platform that manages that in one location. Then the Intune piece helps us manage those devices, helps us take control of that and provide a secure location for them to access. And then finally, the last piece is one of the pieces that often gets overlooked when we kind of talk about security in the environment, and that's how do we manage the data and prevent it from leaking. So one of the great pieces of rights management is it's built on a fundamental platform from the server product stack that's been around for a while and extends it into the cloud or relocates it into the cloud. So what is Azure Rights Management Services? Well, it provides secure access to files inside of an organization. And what I mean by that is you can actually say, these are users in my organization, they have access to these documents, they have access to this email, they can open that and they can view it and they have certain rights and permissions. Users can set them on emails, they can set them on files, and they can share them with other users inside of their organization. If that file were to be accessed by somebody without permissions to access it, even inside the organization, it wouldn't be able to be accessed. So you can control who has access to it. I think my favorite feature of this is the ability to set up a rule that says people can't reply to all. So if I send out an email to a large list, people aren't allowed to reply to the entire list. So how does that play in with this whole mobile first, cloud first world? Well, we're allowing users to bring their own device. We've provided them with a way to log on to all the tools that they use to do their daily jobs. But this is another way to make sure that that data stays safe. We've provided a platform to control and manage the devices that may selectively wipe. But what happens if that data does get out, and how do we protect it? Well, this would prevent people from being able to access it unless they're part of your organization. So you can really control the way that information is accessed. And it works with all the pieces that are listed on the screen. Integration tightly with SharePoint and Exchange, very tight integration with Windows File Services, and it works on all the platforms that you see on the right. So if you have a secure device and somebody accesses a file and they have permissions to access it, they'll be able to view it on whatever device they choose to consume it on. If somebody who doesn't have permissions tries to access it, they won't be able to see that. So as we move forward, let me go to the next slide. And the piece also that comes with it is the ability to do multi-factor authentication. And some people have started to see that. Has certainly made a lot of news recently with a lot of photos being released and a lot of people talking about multi-factor authentication and how it can be secured. But it's been something that's been integral in our platform for quite a long time. But that's included with your capabilities in the EMS suite. So not just for cloud-based applications, but on-prem applications as well. So this multi-factor authentication service, while it may live in the cloud, can be used to access on-prem applications that you host or people host in their own data center. So what does all this mean for opportunities? How do we talk about EMS? How do we take this and make it a natural extension of an organization? Well, because you're using Azure Active Directory Premium as part of this, a natural extension is for people who have already working with Office 365. This is a natural next step because it builds on the work that they've already done to deploy Office 365. They've already connected their environments to Azure Active Directory. The next step is to take it to Azure Active Directory Premium, and the rights management services is again a natural extension of that. The next piece is for people who have device management. So certainly a lot of opportunity for people who are challenging with that BYOD environment. That's certainly a huge way that we can access kind of going after opportunities for training and for extension into the EMS suite. So, like I said, and to kind of review, EMS is made up of three major parts. It's made up of Azure Active Directory Premium that can be leveraged for the authentication piece. It's the Intune product, which provides mobile device management services, and then it provides multi-factor authentication into the environment. So, whole host of opportunities there, but to extend in and be managed create a secure platform for those mobile devices and that we talked about to be leveraged in an environment safely and securely. And then the extension of that for people looking to provide training, certainly a lot of opportunities for you to reach back out to the people that you've worked with on Office 365. I know that I worked with a couple of organizations in the past in my previous life that we deployed Office 365 for. They wanted some end-user training for their organization. This was a natural extension. We deployed EMS for them to help manage the mobile devices that they were connecting Office 365 to, and they wanted some training to help understand the Azure, the Entune platform and how they could maximize the potential there to manage their environment. So lots of great opportunities within that. And with that, I think we're gonna open it up to questions. Anybody have any questions? I'm looking at the pane here. Here are some additional resources for people wanting to get started with EMS. Certainly a lot of good opportunity there, and if there are any questions, certainly we'll open that up.
Yeah. So Jonathan, this audience, obviously what they want to do is ultimately drive more device management type courses. So if they're within a customer environment, what are the right times, or do they look for, let's say, a hardware refresh project going on? What are the types of questions to kind of maybe get them thinking, I'm not doing these things, maybe you should take this course, right?
Sure, and some of those exist from the extension of managing mobile devices, right? The natural question is you can just be meeting with a partner and say, hey, what are you using for managing your mobile devices today? If they're not using anything, there's certainly a huge opportunity to have that discussion with them. If you're in a partner that's already used Office 365, again, a natural extension of that conversation is, well, now that you've got it set up, how are you managing the mobile devices that access Office 365? And then finally, the piece is about security. There's certainly a ton of opportunity there to say, hey, how are you securing the data that gets out to these devices? So lots of questions about how they're connected to the technology that gets in, but then the natural extension is, okay, well, here's the opportunity to discuss the platform, but also that while these platforms are available in the cloud, certainly the need to do some training on how they get that set up, how they can maximize EMS to manage that. Intune especially can get very complicated. Anybody who's used the System Center Suite in the past certainly understands that. So a lot of opportunity, especially around the Intune stuff from a training perspective. So got a question, what's the best mapping of EMS needs to the current course titles? What are the future course titles that they're developing to meet these needs? As far as course development, I'm going to have to punt that one. I don't have access to some of that. Rick, do you have any access to any of the? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I forgot that we had that one in there. I remembered it once I said it. So I'll pass it back over to you to answer that one.
Okay. And so I wanted to tie it back, and obviously, this session, the first part was Windows devices as a whole, and trying to make sure that our customers are moving to the latest version of Windows. And so all the MCSA Windows 8 courses you could see below are going to support those efforts. And usually part of Windows, there's going to be some sort of device management portion of curriculum in there. But specifically, the new courses that just came out around devices at literally this quarter are on the top right, which is managing enterprise devices and apps. And so you look at course 20695 and course 20696, deploying Windows devices, enterprise apps, and managing enterprises devices and apps. Those are the two courses that were just released specifically around the need for this topic. With the proliferation, I'm probably using the wrong word there, of devices that are just hitting those environments. Hopefully these courses are going to help those IT departments better manage the influx of those devices, right? And so because of those changes, obviously, we did create the MCSE specifically for enterprise app and device deployment and management, and then obviously the MCSA Windows 8 there is as well. And so the slide prior to the one I just showed you kind of has a quick summary of the curriculum and all the things involved. But you know, as Jonathan was talking, there's other opportunities around Active Directory, all the identity management, a lot of the Windows Server trainings, a lot of the basic infrastructure trainings still apply to that. It's still an opportunity to make sure that they're up to speed on their foundational stuff, but this MCSE and MCSA Windows 8 would address that. All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay. All right. And then it was perfect timing because you passed it to me and I covered that. So we have about 10 minutes left. Is there any other questions from the audience? And then Chris and Jonathan, are there any other things that you would give from a sales perspective when they're meeting with their customers?
Jonathan, I'll let you go first if you'd like.
Sure. I think that just to kind of review the platform from an EMS perspective, the three kind of the main questions to ask around the platform that open the conversation to EMS are, what are you doing about doing single sign-on in the cloud for the cloud applications that you manage today? How are you dealing with that challenge? The second is, what are you doing about mobile device management? How are you dealing with people bringing their own devices in the organization? I don't know that I've talked to an organization in the last 5 years that purchases all the devices and doesn't let anybody connect with a device that is not owned by the corporation. The only time I've ever seen that were kind of banks and a couple of other very specific verticals. So that's a natural question. How are you managing mobile devices? And then the final piece is, how are you controlling data in the organization? How do you prevent data leakage in the organization? Those are the three big questions that open up the conversation to things that would lead to EMS. So those are the three kind of big questions I would focus on. When you find the answer to those, it opens the door for, hey, have you heard about the EMS suite that Microsoft is putting together? Let me talk to you about some of the opportunities that are available there. And then naturally, and here's how we can get you up to speed on it.
Excellent. So controlled security on data, which control data leakage, single sign-on scenarios that customers may be talking about, and then how are they managing all the influx of devices coming in? So 3 scenarios for EMS. Chris, what about Windows?
Yeah, so the point I wanted to touch on is around licensing real quick, and around the new Windows per user or software assurance per user licensing. I know from the back end, licensing isn't always fun, and that's not something that this group traditionally or even at all sells. But what it is opening up is a lot of the solutions that customers have been asking for when we look at a per user type license to manage or to allow access to virtual desktops, and opening up the BYOD scenario even further to allow or to license a user with Windows software assurance per user. And then that user can go to any device, on-site, off-site, and access their virtual desktop infrastructure. And this is a huge change in the way Microsoft licenses Windows, and does open up a lot of new scenarios that were maybe more cost prohibitive with customers in the past, to now having a more flexible solution, which then leads into EMS and the Enterprise Cloud Suite, that was just announced here on December 1st as well. So to me, from a sales, licensing, readiness type thing, the Enterprise Cloud Suite and the addition of the Windows Software Assurance per user really changes a lot of different conversations that we've had in the past, opening up new opportunities in the future. So that was my one thing, Rick, if I was to touch on before we left.
No, perfect. And then we had a question on the MCSA Windows 8. Is it a required prerequisite for MCSE enterprise devices and apps? And then basically he answered his own question. That's what's on the MS Learning side as well. So yes, MCSA Windows 8 is some of the exams within that would be prerequisites for the MCSE enterprise devices and apps. Okay, all right, we got 5 minutes left. Other questions? I saw one on the cloud and millennials. It got pulled. And
I actually answered it.
Okay.
So it's the question was, in my opinion, is the speed of moving to the cloud being driven by the increase of millennials in the workforce, or is it merely intensifying because of the millennials? I don't know that it's driven by an individual group as much as it is the ability for scale, flexibility, and all of the functions that clouds provide. I don't want to sound like a marketing person too much. They allow the organization to better focus on what they do as a business, as opposed to spending a lot of time focused on, oh, we need this server, we need that server, it's, this service or that service we need to provide internally. They can say, these are the challenges that are unique to our business. How do we use the technology that's available to solve them, as opposed to, is it just an organizational thing? I think it certainly doesn't hurt that the millennials and people coming into the workforce today have been using technology since they were born. They have never known they've never known what it's like to sit and wait for AOL to connect on a 28K modem. They don't know what a token ring network looks like, and so those are things that they're not going to understand. So they have a natural propensity to reach for the cloud. To use a really bad cliche, whenever they want to solve a problem, instead of purchasing more servers or doing certain things to address an IT challenge, that's the first place that they look. So certainly helps open other opportunities and avenues because they've been using it for so long. They can see it in a little bit different way, but I don't think that that's the reason that it's being driven.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we're going to close out. We just have a few minutes, so thank you guys for your insights, and that was helpful. And so we're going to do a quick poll just to get a gauge on content. And so the first question will be popping up. Please feel free to answer. Give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, and the second question. Give it 5 more seconds. And the final question. So it looks like people are having conversations, and some will begin to. And there are a good percentage of customers asking about Windows 8 devices, so it's some very good insights. Okay, excellent. So with that, we will be having for our next session next month. Let me go ahead and pull up the title. We will be covering SQL Server and Big Data Solutions for January 8th. So we definitely look forward to your participation and also have a happy holidays. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Stacy and we'll get those responses out to you. So have a great day.